Hey, what's up, guys? We're back. So we're gonna do Duolingo this time. So let's go Google Duolingo, click login, and okay, so we are on the login page. Let me just zoom in a bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and look for our selector. So let's open up our. So I like docking this at the bottom, but that actually is not bad on the side like that. Okay, this is weird. I don't like this. Okay, this is fine. It's getting a little easier to read this now. So, okay, let's click into this. And here, you know what? Let's zoom in here too, because I want you guys who are on your cell phones to be able to see. Okay, so the only reason why I normally like the horizontal, the docking side that takes up the whole bottom half of the screen is because this word wraps, and sometimes it's kind of hard to see. But okay, now looking at our element, we have a data test attribute that we could use. This might change. This probably looks like it will change, but it might not. But I would stay clear of it. Um, we could probably use this input and placeholder, but we have an ID here. But since it has a 1 at the end, it could be auto-generated, but I'm starting to think that it might not be. See, we have Web UI 2. Here, let's refresh it. And a good way to check is if you refresh it and if it doesn't change. So we'll go with this because this might be okay. Because if it's just one number, it's probably okay. But if it's like, 1279310, and then the letters, like, it's auto generated, you don't want to do that because it just won't work. Okay, so we need our 3 elements. So we need our email, password, and login. So let's take a look at the login button. Okay, so the login button. Okay, so we have our classes. So if you're new here, if there's a space between classes, that means that they're separate classes. So we don't want to use classes because these look kind of gross. So we may have to use this data test. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so yeah, we may need to do data test. We probably could do something with this span, but I like to focus on the buttons. So, okay. We'll try the ID. We'll try the ID. We'll see how that goes. But actually, what we could do here. Let's do this. Let's clear this. And I'm going to try. Let's see, that was input. And we'll try this data test. And I'm going to test it to see if this is going to work. So let's see, what was that? Data test is equal to, and copied and pasted it. Here, let's get rid of this. Okay, let's see if that finds it. No. Maybe I typed it wrong. It is possible. Here, let me double check. Email input. Data test is equal to email input. Undefined. Okay, here, let's try. Let's try by ID. Oop, here, let me redo that. Here, let's try by ID. I like to try to flush it out before I do the test, if I'm not sure, because when you're actually trying to run the test, it's kind of frustrating. So I'm going to go back to elements, and I'm going to grab this ID, which will probably work, but let's check it out. Where the ID is equal to that. Yeah, I might be making a mistake. Hold on, let me just double check. Okay, so I'm not sure why this is coming back undefined. It's strange, because it should at least say nothing was found. It is possible that they are doing something to prevent us from doing this, but if we use the same function, and here I just went to Gears of War and looked at this submit button down here. Let's check out the submit button. Okay, it's got a data test ID, an age, gate, submit. So if we go to our console, we run our console button, so the tag, data test, age, gate, submit, and we hit enter. Okay. It at least should say found 0 elements. Data test ID, button, age gate. Let's clear that a bit. Okay, data test ID. There we go. There we go. That's what it should do. So maybe I'm typing something wrong. Now spend just a little bit longer, and then we'll move on to the page classes. We'll see how it behaves in the test. So. Okay, so let's take a look at our elements again. Okay, so this is just data test. But it's behaving the same way for the web, for the ID. So, okay, let's just go ahead and create our page objects, and we'll see what the test does, and then we'll just have to revisit this. Okay, so let's bring over our solution. So let's close all these. Actually, yeah, let's save everything. And this is a pretty interesting cheat sheet. If you guys have been following along, I just added this, so I'll be pushing this out to the repo. I can make this available for you guys. This is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of ways to find XPaths. But okay, so let's go ahead and, what is this? Oh, okay, that's the log from before. Okay, so same stuff. Let's copy this. And we want this to be Duolingo login page. So Duolingo login page. Make sure we change the name of our constructor. Okay, so I'm going to do by ID. And guys, try not to, you know what? I copy this, but really I made the mistake of referencing another by in a different element. So let's do it completely first. Okay, so let's grab this ID. So we'll grab this ID, and this is going to be the email input by. This will be our email input by element, or input element, and so we'll put this in here. Okay, now I'm gonna copy this, but I'm going to remember to change it. So this is going to be our password. So password input by, and we want to put that in here. Oops. So password input by, then we want password input element, and we want to fix this. Okay, and we need to fix this. So that should be 2 on the password. Let's see. Yep, it should be 2. So let's bring this back over, change this to 2. And then finally we need our login button. So let's fix this, and we'll call this login button. And this will be login button by, and this will be login button elements. And so this one, okay, so we'll try this data test register button. Let's give that a shot. So we'll do, it's probably a button. We'll just grab this. Let's take a look at this one more time. Yep, button, register button. And then let's bring this back over, and we'll paste that in here. Let's get rid of these double quotes. Okay, so login button, password input, email input. Okay, so now same thing, let's change our method. So login, and we'll call this email and password. We'll create 2 strings for email and password. And so really this is going to click the button. So login button. So we'll do login button. That will click it, and we'll have to wait for the button. So login button by. All right. So very similarly, we're going to do with the email input. So email input by, and then email input element, and we're going to send keys to the email input, which is going to be email, and then we're going to do the same thing but with password. So password input by, I should have just, so password input element, and then we'll pass in password. Okay, so that is pretty much it for our page class. So now let's go and create the test. So let's go to our tests. We'll go to example test. We'll create a new example test. Give this a name, Duolingo, login test. Let's change the name of our test class name, and we need to pull in our instance of the object of Duolingo, so Duolingo login page, and we'll call this Duolingo. Did I spell Duolingo wrong? I think I did. Lingo. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you know, try not to make typos. And if you guys have, okay, no. Oh, the page class I spelled wrong. All right, yeah, let me fix that. So I can just right click and I can do rename, and I'll just highlight this, and Wait, did I did spell it right. Then why? Hold on, hold on, hold on. I did something wrong. Maybe. Oh, okay. I think I see what I did wrong. That's why I'm confused. Yeah, okay. So the file name and then the page class. Okay, yeah. That's what I did wrong. I spelled the file name right, but I spelled the page class wrong. So let's fix that. There we go. There we go. All right. So let's go back to our test. Got to fix that. Duolingo. Okay. So now we need to create a new instance of the Duolingo login page. So we have Duolingo equal to new Duolingo login page. Now you can call the instance of the object whatever you want. You can give it a name, but when you're referencing the actual object, you need to name it properly. You need to have its fully qualified name. Okay, so now let's give our test proper name. So log into Duolingo. And guys, listen, if you're new, you should check out our school community. We go into a lot more detail on how to set all this up. The hardest part really is just the setup. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our login URL. And so we'll replace this. And so I want to use that method. So I want to use the navigation method. Navigation. So basically this method is really just this line, but it's shorter and it's inside of a base page, so we're not repeating ourselves, we're reusing a function. So that's why we're doing that. Now let's also pass in a email, and we'll call this don't spam Duolingo at learnasecondlanguage.com. You know, they say being able to speak a second language is one of the 3 things that increases a human's intelligence. I thought that was interesting. So if you're bilingual or tri or polyglot, good on you. Let's see. Polyglots are smart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, so now let's call our login method. And so this is where we're going to figure out if those XPaths and those IDs worked for us. Duolingo login. And then we're going to, yep, just like that. Just like that. Okay? So let's throw in, well, you know what, here, let's just see how it behaves. And then we can always run it again. Okay? All right, so let's run our test. Here, let me open up the Test Explorer so we can see it thinking. We're not just sitting here in silence. Okay, run test. Okay, so it entered our, okay, so it worked. The selector path that we chose worked, but it's not, it doesn't seem like it clicked the login button. Okay, let's look at the failed. So it must have failed on the login button. Unable to locate, okay, this is a good error, good. Unable to locate the register button. Alright, so it doesn't like our path, and we did select the proper one. Okay, so maybe this is not a good attribute to use, this data test. Okay, so in that case, what I would do is, I would do it by type. I would do an XPath that's the button and the type is equal to submit. So let's take a look. I think I have something in one of these cheat sheets. So let's go to our solution. Let's go to our cheat sheet. Is there one for type? Tag. Okay, tag and type an exact text. This one. This one. Okay, we can use that. That's a bit more. Actually, I like this one better. I don't even have to think about it. I can just, because this one we got to think about it a little bit. We have to cut out the and, cut out the exact text, bring over the angle bracket. Okay, so we don't want to do all that. We just want it to be nice and easy. So let's do this. We'll save our original. We'll paste this one in here. And this one needs to be button. And the type, I believe, was submit. Yep. Excuse me. Okay, so let's give this a try. Now, okay, yeah. I was going to say we could use actions, but it didn't find it. So if it can't find it, then it's not a question of using actions, the Advanced Actions API. It's a question of the proper selector path. Okay, so let's go back and let's run it again. Run test. It's having a hard time clicking it. Did I do click? Yeah, no, it's erroring out. It can't find it. Okay, if it can't find it, wow, I hate to check for this because it's kind of overkill, but what if it's inside of an iframe? So let's see. Wow. It could be. Oh, wow. That could be a thing. It could be that this region is inside of an iframe. Okay, that is new. That is new. Okay, so we'll just, let's try this. We'll do driver dot switch to, I believe it's just iframe. Oh no, this isn't Java, it's frame. And then it's that. Yeah, that should, well, okay, I don't know if that's going to work. Now I'm experimenting. So let's see if that does anything. And if it doesn't, there's plan B. Okay, thank you, Norton. So that is not going to work either. Okay, so there is a way to click that, but we're kind of coming up on time, so let me show you another way you could do that. Excuse me, you could do this. So let's just comment this out. And what we'll do is this. So once it clicks here, let's take a look at the UI. Let's see how it behaves. Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the key presses to get to the button. So it enters the text. It enters the text. Now the very next thing I should be able to do is I should be able to tab down to the login button. So I'm not sure if that landed on the login button, but let's see. So if I hit, okay, perfect. One tab down takes us to the login button. Now this This is kind of fragile. You don't want to do this, but if you really needed to, I want it to be a tool in your tool belt. So let's now do, okay, so it leaves off by sending the keys. So that means that the focus is on the, in the password input. But just to be safe, we don't have to do this part, but we can say password input dot click, because we're about to do this weird stuff that we're about to do. It's not weird. Actions. So we're going to do send keys, and we're going to actually send keys, and then we are going to do the key of tab, and we want to perform the press. So the next thing we want to do is the tab puts the key over it, so we want to, the next key press we want to do is space. You probably could do enter. You know, I might try enter as well, but I use space a lot for checkboxes sometimes, and it a lot sometimes kind of an oxymoron. Okay, so let's try this out. You guys have to bear with me. Let's see. There we go. So let's see what this does. Okay, boom, perfect. It's exactly what we're expecting. But here, let's slow it down just so we can see it. So thread.sleep, we'll put that in for 5 seconds. So we should see some kind of error message that says like, hey, this username doesn't exist. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so let's see if enter works. So I know space works, but let's try enter. And then I believe we can do return. Yep, enter works. So let's check out return for anybody who's curious. Return. Awesome. Awesome. So, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. Another thing you want to do is make sure that it actually clicked it. So what I would do is I would add another element, because, you know, it would be awful for your test to submit those keys, but it didn't actually do it, because it would be awful. You want to make sure that it actually did what you're expecting it to do. So let's pretend that this actually logged us in, and then that this message only appears when we log in. So what we could do is this. We could go back to our page, and we can add another element. And we'll just call it error message. We'll change this to error message. Why did I do? Okay, yeah, it's a div. Okay, so then we want to check. Okay, so we want to check for the tag and if it contains text. So let's take a look at our cheat sheet, and let's go and look for something that has a tag that contains text. So tag and only text. Oh, this is perfect. Let's use this. So let's go back to our login page, and here let's I'm going to paste this just as a guide, and we want to change this to XPath. And so now we want to put in this XPath. We'll replace it. Okay, so it was a div. Now, okay guys, this is really important. So you don't want the full message. You just want enough of the message to know that it's the right thing. So we can just, since it's contains, we could just grab, I would say up to here. And maybe even the space. Now you might be able to do like partial, like you could do two elements, one kind of before and one after, but let's just do this. So we'll put in this text, including the space. That should work. Okay, and then we need to add another method. We need to add another method to say public boolean error message displayed. When it's the method names, I like to fully name them instead of abbreviating. It's fine to abbreviate variables, but method names, you know, code is written for humans to read, not the computer. So it'll make more sense to you when you're reading it months later. Error message elements dot displayed. But before we do that, we want to wait for it. Wait until visible error message by. Okay, so let's just pull that in on our test. And so now let's get rid of this assert pass. So this won't just pass automatically. It'll fail if it can't do it. And we will say Duolingo error message displayed. But this is a Boolean, so we have to do something with this. We need to say assert that is true. Okay? So now let's run this. And it should work. Okay. Awesome. Now we know for sure that those key entering those keys work perfectly, and we are successfully logged in. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. I'll try not to make these so long. I mean, let me know in the comments if this is too long or if I'm talking too much. You know, feedback helps. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next one.